the law was the law at the time, then, you kind of have to stand by it.
It's really like, why bother? Why waste the court time?
Yeah, it'd be nice to get back to the old days for sure.
I wasn't really a fan of the vaccine passport, but I didn't really inconvenience me either way.
For a long time, even I could not come in and see my family in Canada.
If we are in a better place before June 30th, however, we will look to make adjustments early.
Well, the vaccine passports may have dropped in British Columbia, but the suffering for some who have been stigmatized and marginalized by them has not come to an end. And today I'm standing at the Vancouver Supreme Court because the first of 4 challenges against British Columbia's vaccine passport has taken place here over the last 2 days.
We will be extending the BC vaccine card program through to June 30th. And it will continue to apply to people over the age of 12. If we are in a better place before June 30th, however, we will look to make adjustments early. The BC vaccine card program is specifically designed to address those and mitigate those risks that allow us to keep certain businesses and activities open during the period of the pandemic. As we move through this period, it will, I expect, no longer be necessary.
In this report, we're going to recap what happened as well as talk to some of the people passing by the courthouse to see what they think about what unfolded in court. What do you think about the fact that in British Columbia the passports are over, but there's still legal cases happening to challenge the vaccine passport?
That's a difficult one, isn't it? Because the law was the law at the time. Yeah. That's a very good question. I'm afraid I don't actually know. I don't have a definitive answer, but I think if the law was the law at the time, then, you kind of have to stand by it. Otherwise, the whole system falls apart, doesn't it?
What do you think about people challenging the vaccine passport now that there is no vaccine passport in British Columbia?
Stupid. It's really like, why bother? Why waste the court time and all that money wasted?
So one of the things Justice Hinkson, who presided over the matter, is he said if we see another wave, we might see these rules come back. There were 4 plaintiffs, 3 of which had medical reasons that they couldn't get the vaccine, but were unable to get vaccinations. Some of the plaintiffs say that their doctors felt like they were unable to write exemptions. Do you think that that's happening?
I'm good.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it'd be nice to get back to the old days for sure.
Yeah. So we're kind of moving there. Do you know that?
No speaking English.
I thought so, but we'll see if we can communicate or not. But the vaccine passport challenge is happening in there.
Passport is yeah.
Is it good or bad, the vaccine passport?
Canada passport. Good.
Is it good?
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Happy 420.
The dog is so cute.
So cute.
I wasn't really a fan of the vaccine passport, but I didn't really inconvenience me either way, so.
I think it's too early to drop the mask down. I'm still wearing my mask. It's just like,
Yeah.
it's hard to say. I mean, 420 right now. We're gonna have many people around. Let me see. I just come out from my office. So many people without no mask.
So for the plaintiffs in this situation, it was more specifically a challenge to how narrow the exemption list was from the government, and just saying that, some people who had medical issues were not categorized in the outline from the government on who could receive an exemption. So that's sort of what this particular challenge was about. In your experience, you're talking about traveling back and forth, but there were some people who weren't able to do the things that you did based on that. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, interesting is that my daughter cannot get the vaccine due to medical reasons. So as a proponent of the vaccine, I'm also a proponent of her not being able to get it because of her conditions. So I was able to see it from both sides. When we did come into the country, I had to have an entire letter from her doctor and all of the things that prevented her from getting the vaccine, and it worked, but it was a lot harder and more difficult to come in.
Did you find any difficulties getting a letter from the doctor? That was one of the things the plaintiffs brought up. According to them, their doctors feel almost sort of threatened about writing exemptions at a risk of being in trouble for doing so. Did you experience anything like that?
No, actually, because her doctor was actually very supportive in that she cannot at this time get the vaccine, had no problem writing that. So we had the support of our doctors, which I know is not normal. But I think because of her relationship and the chronicity of her diseases, then it was easier for her to support it.
Well, British Columbia was the last province in Canada to drop the passports. Do you think that was too soon, just on time, or?
You know, again, I think because of the surges that are coming in, as a health practitioner myself, I am not as afraid because more of us are vaccinated than there are not. So, is it too soon? I don't think so. I don't think even with the passports, we're going to be able to stop this. I really think that whatever, our future will always have COVID in it. I truly believe that. And it's no different than influenza. It's different in disease, but no different in influenza being something that will be here forever.
I think, had it been a much more slowly progressive, illness that was, the coronavirus as it was, then the government had time to think, but they didn't have time to think. They had to just put it in place. So each individual cases, they probably didn't get a chance to address them all individually. In an ideal world, they would, but I think they didn't have the time for it.
So the plaintiffs that were in court today, 3 of them had medical reasons why they couldn't get the vaccine passport, but they also had a really hard time trying to get an exemption from the government. Do you know anybody who had similar struggles, and what's your thought of people who were in their situation?
I haven't had really anybody that I know ask for an exemption. They've just, most people I know have stayed at home during this whole pandemic, and I feel for people who have actual medical conditions that are suffering because of this, but they get roped into this kind of stereotype of just, people that are just doing it for the attention, but there are people that are legitimately, at risk, and I feel bad for those kind of people.
Do you think that we're going to see the passports return, or are they gone for good?
I sure hope not, but it's definitely a possibility, I think.
Like some people, they cannot because medical reasons. You just said how they can deal with that. I think they should work a little bit better on that and get a better solution for people who cannot. You know what I mean? I respect people who cannot, or they have their own religions or beliefs. But still, if you can get the vaccination, get it, because it might help for everybody. Okay.
Well, you're looking good for 420. Enjoy the rest of your day. Okay, just for lunch. He says not for 420, but now you said you're a tourist. Did they have a vaccine passport where you are, and did they drop it before BC or after?
They dropped it before, and we had it in the UK. We still have on our phones an app that we have proving we've triple vaccinated. So if you're elderly, you're actually been vaccinated 4 times. But very, very quickly it was dropped because I don't think it was sustainable. A lot of people in the UK didn't get vaccinated. Well, we had a high turnover of people that did, but there was still a large chunk of people that didn't. And I think we definitely were, we dropped masks and everything was dropped way, way earlier than Canada. Yeah.
In hindsight, do you think that was too soon or just right?
I know. I think it was good. I think I think people were getting restless, and so there were a lot of people had the opinion that we need to just learn to live with this now. Huge percentage have been vaccinated, and now we just needed to get on and live our lives. And if sadly you were one of the people that were vulnerable, then you had to take responsibility for that to a certain extent yourself. The whole economy was dependent on people getting back to work, and life had to resume at some stage. So I was of the opinion that actually when it happened was just about the right time.
The US was not as strict as Canada. So my daughter being an American, when we came into Canada, that's when we had to have the exemptions to get into. And we were crossing into Ontario at that time. So she's a US citizen that had to go through that to see her Canadian family.
So the exemption you got in the States for her, it worked in Canada. She was able to go to restaurants and everything like that. Did the BC government approve that, or?
We did not cross into BC. I'm the one who's crossed into BC, but not with the rest of my American family. Yeah. Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah. So it's been interesting in different parts of crossing into Canada. Like I said, my brothers are out here, but our home is in Ontario, and I just happen to live in the U.S. So it's a very, but for a long time, even I could not come in and see my family in Canada.
No, you couldn't.
Yeah, so that was really, really tough. Yeah.
The judge has reserved his ruling for now. Of course, we will update you with what he decides. You can also check out his previous ruling on the case of 3 Fraser Valley churches who wanted the right to worship in person during life with COVID-19, and 1 peaceful protester who wanted the right to be able to protest during COVID-19 without being fined for doing so. So I'll link that in the written report as well. Comment below. Let us know what you think about British Columbia being the last province in Canada to drop the passport, and 4 cases coming up, including our case in partnership with the Democracy Fund, and what you think is going to go down. Like I said, this was just one of 4 cases, including our case here at Rebel News that's in partnership with the Democracy Fund charity. Thank you so much for all of you who have come together to help cover the costs of those legal fights, but there are still many more, including the cost to cover what's about to happen in court here in just a couple of weeks. So if you'd like to join that legal fight and stand for medical freedoms in British Columbia, please go to our special website called fightvaccinepassports.com. Donate what you can there. Not a penny goes to Rebel News. It all goes to cover the legal costs for this case and over 20 other vaccine-related cases we've taken on. Thank you so much for your support.